What makes an actress unforgettable when she never seems to be trying too hard? In an industry filled with louder personalities, sharper branding, and careers built on constant reinvention, Kim Ji-won somehow became something rarer. She did not rise by being the most dramatic person in the room. She did not force attention. She did not build her image around chaos, scandal, or noise. And yet, over time, she became one of the most quietly captivating actresses in Korean drama. The kind of star people do not always notice all at once, but once they do, they never really forget. That is what makes her story so compelling, because Kim Ji-won's power has never been obvious in the flashy way fame often is. It lives somewhere more subtle, in the calmness of her presence, in the precision of her performances, and in the way she can make a character feel emotionally real without ever seeming like she is working too hard for the audience's approval. She has the kind of screen presence that does not beg to be admired, it simply stays with you. Long before she became a familiar face to K-drama audiences around the world, Kim Ji-won was just a young girl growing up in Seoul, South Korea, born on October 19, 1992. Like many future stars, her beginning did not look legendary. There was no dramatic instant breakthrough waiting for her at the door, no overnight transformation into celebrity. What makes her rise interesting is that it feels built, carefully, gradually, and with the kind of patience that often creates stronger careers than sudden hype ever can. From early on, there was already a certain natural elegance in the way she carried herself. Not just beauty, though that would later become part of her public image, but composure. Kim Ji-won has always had something poised about her, something self-contained. She does not come across like someone performing confidence for the world. She feels like someone who learned how to hold herself together from the inside first. That distinction matters, because in entertainment, many people are taught how to appear polished. Far fewer develop the kind of quiet control that feels real. And maybe that is why Kim Ji-won's later success would feel so believable. She does not give the impression of someone built by hype. She feels like someone who slowly grew into her power. Before acting became the center of her public identity, she entered the industry through modeling and commercial work, where her visuals naturally drew attention. Even then, though, there was something different about her image. She was beautiful, yes, but not in a way that felt loud or aggressively glamorous. Her face had softness, but also clarity, warmth, but also distance. It gave people something to look at and something to wonder about. That kind of mystery would later become one of her greatest strengths. Still, beauty alone has never been enough to build a lasting career, especially in an industry where countless young women are introduced every year with the same promise of potential. To last, an actress has to offer something beyond appearance. She has to make people feel. She has to make stillness interesting. She has to carry emotion in a way that lingers after the scene is over. Kim Ji-won was only beginning to discover how powerful that ability could become, because the next stage of her journey would not be about instant stardom. It would be about smaller beginnings, patient growth, and the slow transformation of a young woman with quiet promise into an actress people could no longer overlook. At first, Kim Ji-won's path did not look like the kind that would explode overnight. She entered the industry in a way many future stars do, through commercials, small appearances, and the kind of early work that helps people recognize a face before they truly know the person behind it. Her visuals were easy to notice, but what mattered more was the impression she left. Even in those early stages, she did not feel loud or overly manufactured. She had a calm kind of beauty, the kind that looked elegant without trying too hard. But being noticed is not the same as being remembered. That was the real challenge, because the Korean entertainment industry is full of actresses who arrive with beauty, promise, and camera-friendly charm. What separates the few who truly last is something less obvious. It is emotional control. It is presence. It is the ability to make viewers keep watching even when the script is not doing all the work for you. And in her early acting years, Kim Ji-won was still building that power. She took on smaller roles, the kind that do not always give an actress immediate star status, but do something more important over time. They teach discipline. They teach restraint. They teach how to exist inside a scene without trying to dominate it unnaturally. That lesson would become one of Kim Ji-won's greatest strengths later on, because she was never the kind of actress who needed to force emotion. Even early in her career, there was a subtle quality in the way she performed. She understood how to make softness interesting, how to make quiet moments carry weight, how to let a look, a pause, or a slight shift in expression say more than a dramatic line ever could. In an industry where overacting can sometimes be mistaken for intensity, Kim Ji-won was slowly building something more refined, and that made her different. As she kept moving forward, the public began paying closer attention, not all at once, and not in the explosive way some careers are launched, but steadily. Her image started becoming clearer. She was no longer just a pretty young actress with potential. She was becoming someone viewers trusted to bring sincerity and emotional realism to the screen. That trust matters. Because once audiences begin believing in an actress rather than merely admiring her, her career changes. She stops being decorative, she becomes necessary. Kim Ji-won was slowly reaching that point, one role at a time. And maybe that is why her rise feels so satisfying in hindsight. It was not built on noise, it was built on patience, on carefully chosen performances, on the slow accumulation of credibility. She was learning how to hold attention without demanding it, and in a way, that would become the signature of her entire career. The audience was starting to notice, but the real turning point had not happened yet. Because once the right roles arrived, Kim Ji-won would stop feeling like a quietly promising actress and start becoming something much harder to ignore. A star whose presence could no longer be dismissed as simple beauty or gentle charm. Then came the roles that changed the conversation. For a while, Kim Ji-won had been steadily building recognition, but this was the stage where audiences stopped seeing her as simply promising and started seeing her as unforgettable. Once she began landing stronger roles in bigger dramas, her screen presence became impossible to dismiss. She was no longer just part of the cast. She was becoming one of the main reasons people stayed invested. And what made that shift so powerful was how natural it felt. Kim Ji-won did not suddenly transform into a different actress. She simply stepped into roles that allowed the public to finally see what had been there all along: the emotional precision, the quiet intensity, and the kind of understated charisma that grows stronger the longer you watch her. She did not need to overpower scenes to own them. She had something more effective than that. She knew how to make sincerity compelling. That became one of her greatest advantages. In a landscape full of actresses competing for attention through dramatic energy or instantly recognizable personas, Kim Ji-won felt more grounded, more emotionally believable. She had the rare ability to make characters feel human before they felt iconic, and ironically, that is exactly what made her stand out. Viewers were not just watching her, they were feeling with her. As her popularity rose, so did appreciation for the subtlety of her craft. She could play elegance without becoming distant, warmth without becoming overly soft, strength without losing vulnerability. That balance gave her performances a special kind of realism. She did not feel like she was trying to impress the audience with technique. She felt like she understood people, and that is much harder to fake. This was also the period when her image began fully taking shape in the public imagination. Kim Ji-won came to represent a kind of beauty and grace that felt calm rather than loud. She looked polished but never untouchable, sophisticated but still emotionally accessible. There was something deeply watchable about that combination. She felt refined yet real. That balance made her even more powerful, Because once an actress becomes both admired and trusted, her influence changes. People are no longer interested only in how she looks. They begin caring about what she will do next, what kind of role she will choose, what kind of emotional experience she will bring. Kim Ji-won had crossed that line. She was no longer rising quietly in the background. She had become one of the most reliable and beloved presences in K-drama. But that kind of admiration creates its own pressure. Because once people begin expecting something special from you every time, the question is no longer whether you can rise. It is whether you can keep deepening your place in an industry that never stops moving. Now Kim Ji-won stands in a place that looks calm from the outside, but that calm took years to build. She is no longer the young actress trying to prove she belongs. She is no longer relying on first impressions, supporting roles, or the slow hope that audiences will eventually understand her value. That stage is over. Kim Ji-won has already crossed into something much more difficult to earn: trust. The public trusts her presence, trusts her emotional range, and trusts that when she appears in a drama, she will bring something real to it. And that kind of reputation is powerful. Because in an industry that is constantly chasing the next face, the next trend, the next viral performance, longevity does not come from being loud. It comes from being reliable in a way that still feels fresh. It comes from knowing how to grow without losing the thing that made people care in the first place. Kim Ji-won has managed to do exactly that. What makes her journey so satisfying is that it never feels forced. She did not build her place through chaos or constant reinvention. She built it through consistency, elegance, and emotional precision. While other stars may burn brighter for a moment, Kim Ji-won has the kind of career that settles deeper over time. The more people watch her, the more they understand her strength. And that strength is easy to underestimate. Because she does not perform ambition in a loud way. She does not dominate the room through excess. She does not need to create spectacle around herself to remain relevant. Instead, she has developed something much harder to imitate: quiet authority. The moment she appears on screen, everything slows down just enough for people to pay attention, not because she demands it, but because her presence makes it natural. That is rare. It is also why she feels different from many actresses who are easier to define. Kim Ji-won is graceful, but she is not fragile. She is soft, but never weak. She is elegant, but never emotionally distant. There is always depth beneath the surface, and that depth is what keeps audiences invested. Even when she plays characters who seem composed, there is usually a pulse underneath them: longing, restraint, pain, loyalty, heartbreak, strength. She knows how to let those feelings exist without turning them into performance tricks. That is the mark of an actress who understands control. And maybe that is the real reason Kim Ji-won became impossible to ignore. Not because she was the loudest, not because she chased attention harder than everyone else, but because she made subtlety feel unforgettable. In a medium where so many people try to be instantly iconic, she took a different path. She made people come closer. She made them notice the quiet details. And once they did, they stayed. Now the question surrounding Kim Ji-won is no longer whether she has earned her place. She has. The more interesting question is what her legacy will become from here. Because she still feels like an actress with more to reveal. That is what gives her career its lasting tension. She does not feel finished. She does not feel locked into one image or one type of role. There is still room for her to surprise people, to go darker, heavier, more emotionally complex, or even more restrained. And when an actress already has public trust and still carries mystery, that creates a very powerful future. Some stars are remembered for noise. Others are remembered for impact. Kim Ji-won feels like the second kind. She turned patience into strength, softness into presence, and quiet consistency into lasting influence. She proved that an actress does not need to be the loudest person in the industry to become one of the most loved. Sometimes all it takes is precision, grace, and the kind of emotional truth people can feel even when no one says a word. That is why Kim Ji-won matters. Not just because she became famous, not just because she is beautiful, but because she built a career that feels steady, elegant, and deeply earned. And in an industry built on attention, that kind of quiet power may be the most unforgettable thing of all.